Listen to this Black interior designer, a woman who has found her passion. I have the esteemed pleasure today to speak with Miss Kiana Rose.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for coming on to Black Women's Health Podcast. I will share with the audience that you are an interior designer. I'm going to ask if you would just give us a little background about yourself so that we can all be on the same footing.
Okay. I am in Chicago, born and raised, and I run a company that is called Design A Rose Interiors. I create tranquil luxe environments for introverts, empaths, and highly sensitive people. I do this because I'm an introvert, an empath, and highly sensitive. And I want to give people the comfort that they need based on their personality. So my design aesthetic is about your personality. What people don't know sometimes when I say designers, they just think, pretty pillows, things like that. I have a saying that design is not pretty, it is purpose. And this is how that works. An interior designer is a profession, kind of like a lawyer or a doctor. You do have to go to school. You have to have a certain number of hours in order to take a test that's similar to the bar exam. It's called the NICDQ. And you study for it for days and months. And the test itself is in like 3 or 4 parts, takes days to take the test. You fail it, you try again next year, things like that. And the reason design has this sort of bar exam test is because interior design is about the safety, the health, and the welfare of the inhabitants of the building. So there's an architect. The architect pretty much designs the outside of the building. They may design, where the interior walls go, where the windows go, where the doors go. The interior designer is kind of like an interior architect. They're about the structure, the interior of the space. They're also responsible for the finishes that are on those spaces. What's on the floor, what's on the walls, what's on the ceiling, and making sure that those materials and items are safe, that they don't burn super fast, like a solid door versus a hollow door, things like that. An interior decorator, still important, is about the aesthetics of the space. So they're kind of like the surface level items. That's when the pillows and the chairs and the sofas and things like that and that matter come in. These 3 different professions can overlap. One person can do all 3. They can kind of bleed into each other a little bit. But the difference is between a designer and a decorator is a designer is legally allowed to move walls. It's kind of the easier way to say it. The decorator is not legally allowed to move walls, but they can always have a designer or an architect sign off on things like that. So my easy explanation is if the building burns down, you sue the architect and the interior designer because they're the ones responsible for making sure that building can withstand floods, water, electricity, hurricanes, things like that.
So I would imagine that there's certain codes and standards that interior designer has to adhere to.
Yes, we have to learn all the building codes for pretty much interior and exterior because, some of what we do does affect the exterior of the building. You can't learn them by heart or anything, but there's a bajillion codes. Things like the hallway needs to be, I don't know off the top of my head, but 42 inches wide so that someone in a wheelchair can have access. Making sure the doors knobs are the right height. Making sure they're levers instead of knobs so that people with any sort of difficulty can grab them. The baseboard that you have in your house is not there to make the space look cute and structural. It's actually there to protect the floor beneath if there's a flood on that floor from the water immediately going to the floor below. I always say, please don't hang the barn doors. That's not a door. It's a curtain. It's pretty. It's cute. Doors keep the fire from immediately entering every single room and burning up the whole house. So door saves lives. So get real doors. So just little tiny things we don't think about are there to keep us alive.
So with an interior designer, this person has to be certified as an interior designer.
There's a whole lot of...
And as a layperson looking for an interior designer, is there a way for me to know if that person's certified or not?
There's a whole lot of hoopla about this. This is how this. Okay, so anyone on Earth can call themselves a decorator.
Decorator.
Depending on anyone on Earth can call themselves a decorator. You're
And
legally
just
allowed
pause
to
for a
say.
second. A decorator just means I come into your space and I say this color versus that color. I'm
Yes,
not
they
doing
help you with the
anything.
aesthetics.
I'm not doing anything structural with the property.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And they can pick furniture and stuff like that too.
Okay.
Now, designer is a little muddy. Some states allow anyone to call themselves a designer, and some states say you have to get licensed in order to be considered a designer. Yes. And they just like literally like last year just passed laws that like I think in Illinois that a designer, a licensed designer can stamp their own drawings and does not have to go to an architect to get that sort of approval. So there's a lot of levels to it. Now, if you're looking for a licensed designer, typically they will say, I'm a licensed designer because a lot of states allow anyone to call themselves a designer. I am not a licensed designer. I have the degrees. I have a lot of the hours. I have not yet taken the exam.
Wow.
Here's a reason why some people wouldn't take the exam. It's nice to call yourself a licensed designer. It gives you an edge, a boost. People know that you've taken that test and you have that knowledge. But it doesn't really help your career if you're not in commercial design, if you're not working for a firm, if you're not helping build hotels and schools and things. So it's kind of like an expensive, laborious task that's not that great or useful if you're just a residential designer. It's definitely helpful because, you know, you have that stamp of approval. It's also not necessary because if your designer does need to do something structural, they can, you know, just like I'm not an electrician. I can tell you what kind of lights you need or where you should put them, but I can't install them. So I do have to go to an electrician to be like, this is what we're thinking about doing. Is this legally possible?
Do you have to recertify periodically, or is it just a one-time test?
Yes, it's a consistent. So you have to take these courses pretty much throughout your entire career and gain these points. I forget what it's called, but it's like adult learning. So you just have to keep up to date with the world of design, learn about floor plans and floors and new countertops and new fabrics and materials. So constantly taking these courses and registering your points to make sure you stay on top of the industry. So yes, right. It's kind of like a certified nurse versus like a doctor. Like there's levels that you may not need for your career for what you want to do. If you are building schools, they really want someone who's licensed and certified and has the proof that they understand the codes and know how to do these things. So it's kind of like that. Yep.
Okay. So how did this all get started for you?
I did not know interior designer was a thing pretty much most of my younger life. As a small girl, I lived with my mom. She's a single parent. I'm an only child. I have siblings, American family. Don't worry about that. So me and my mom, we lived together, and I slept in my mother's room until I was about 17, and I went off to college. So, hey, families got to do what they got to do, keep the money together. So because of this dynamic, I have been building my own dream room and home for my entire life. I've been dreaming about my space that does what I wanted to do my entire life. I used to get those little magazines out of those red boxes on the corner. Yes, I'm that old. And they would have like these houses in the little magazines, right? They're free. And then I would get like a Venture paper or a Sunday newspaper and look through all the furniture. I would be like, okay, I just won $1 million in the lottery. How do I fill up this house? And I would plan it to the penny how to put things in my house. I've been doing this since I was like, 6, 8, whatever. I'm the kind of little girl who would be in Home Depot staring up at the toilet seats and the faucets like, these are beautiful. The weird thing is I wasn't self-aware. I didn't really notice that I was doing that. I love math. I love marketing. So that's the angles that I went to. I like music. I'm a singer. So I didn't even notice anything about this design. Somewhere around 2000, I think I was like 20 or 20, either 20 or 22 years old. I was watching Candace Olsen, who has changed a lot of lives. And
I'm sorry. Who is that? I'm sorry.
Candace Olsen is a Canadian designer. And she was on HGTV. HGTV is blowing up. We're all hooked. So I'm watching her and she's making things that are just so gorgeous. I'm blown away. And one day I'm obsessively watching a Candace Olsen episode, and I'm like, I wish I could do that. And I was like, wait, why can't I do that? So, because before her in HGTV, I did not know interior designer was a thing that existed at all. People just had buildings and stuff was in there, and I thought they put it there. I don't know.
Oh, this was your first time actually seeing someone create the space and put things together, pretty much
Yes,
like you were doing as a little child.
Yes, it's not even something I'd ever seen. I've never seen a person helping someone else design their space.
Ah,
I didn't know that was a profession. People
got
have
you.
homes, and obviously they put all their stuff in their house, right? But I was wrong.
Okay.
And so I started to look for a school. Like that day, like that hour, I was like, why can't I do this? So, and I did. I went to school. I went to the International Academy of Design and Technology, Chicago. That's fun to say. And just started learning about design and studying architecture, because they teach you architecture, and learning about fabric and color and everything. And it's just the best world ever. And I'm so glad that
The
I kind of
best
like took
world
that little leap.
ever. Wow.
Yes,
Okay. You found what you wanted to do.
I
Okay.
did.
All right. So you go to the school, you get your degree,
Hmm.
and what happens next?
So it's actually a longer story. I went to DePaul University for accounting, sucked at accounting, had to do something. I was like, I wouldn't hire me. I was taking a marketing class,
Mhm.
was great at marketing, so I majored in marketing. So I have a marketing degree.
Okay.
When I got out of DePaul, went to market research. Like, that was the first job I had. Ended up there for 12 years. You know, you just fall into something and you just don't get out. Qualitative research, Coke or Pepsi. And so I
Had you
didn't,
already done the interior design?
not at first. At some point they were simultaneous.
Okay.
But in the beginning, I was just in this market research world and just fell in it. Didn't leave. Wasn't bad. Didn't hate it. It was fine. It was a job. And because of this job, I have asked people a jabillion questions. I mean, questions about everything. Why did you buy those shoes? Why do you like pickles? How often do you do your hair? I have asked, for 12 years, I have asked human beings questions that are inappropriate, appropriate, the expanse. What this has done, consumer behavior. There are so many reasons behind your choices. So this has formed me as an interior designer. So I'm going to give you an example of how market research works. I call you, we have an appointment to talk about cheese. And I say, what do you think about this cheese? And you say, I like it. And that's not good enough. I have to get down to the nitty gritty. I was like, okay, what do you mean when you say like? I have to say, what do you mean when you say like? And they're just like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's fun. And I was like, okay, can you give me another example of what you mean by fun? He was like, it makes me happy. In what way does it make you happy?
Wow.
Like, you know what? When I see this cheese, I think about when I used to sit on the porch with my grandma and she would make me grilled cheese sandwiches and we would look at the sunset.
Yeah.
So that's what ends up in the commercial. Some little girl sitting on the porch making grilled cheese with her grandma.
Yes.
And what you've done is they like cheese, but why? Because it's nostalgic, because it's comfort, it's home, it's love. So that's how you figure out what's behind someone's choices. There's like a deeper level to things. So that's kind of why I design for people's psychology. Like, what is your personality? What is it mentally that makes you happy, makes you sad, makes you irritated, makes you comfortable, makes you motivated? And we pick products and lighting and materials and fabrics that infuse your personality, and it can improve your life, how you work, how you play, how you feel all day long, where you recharge yourself, things like that. So that's how design feeds into your psychology. My clients are autistic. I have people who are introverted or have like touch sensations that they do and don't like. They may be unique, they may be unusual. And if we can design in a way that meets those needs, if we can give people soundproof rooms that aren't usually soundproof because sound is really effective to them, if they don't have to smell the cooking in the kitchen when they're upstairs, then it makes their day better. It makes things they want to do easier. This is where the empath thing comes in, almost like putting yourself in their place. So when I'm asking questions about their life and their day, I'm putting myself in that place and like, how do I feel? I had a consultation with a client whose daughter had been harmed in a school when she was very, very, very young, like months old. So she was now about 2 years old during this consultation, and she's, impaired. And most of her life is pretty much laying down. She can't talk really, so they still interact with her. She's like as better as she's going to be for the moment. Still happy, still playing, things like that. But most of her life is laying down. We're having this consultation and we're talking about things we're going to move and change. And I'm like, okay, so we need to put some interesting things on your ceiling, because she's looking at the ceiling all day. And her mom was like, I had never thought about this. I was like, yeah, she deserves stimulation too. We want pretty kitchen and walls, but she's not looking at the walls. She's looking at the ceiling. So we need to find ways to, just make it fun for her to have something to look at instead of a blank ceiling and a light bulb. So things like that. If you put yourself in someone's place and understand their life, their mental health, their psychology, what are they actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis? If she's in her home, like most of us, 90% of the time, and she's on her back, like 80% of the time, looking at the ceiling, we're definitely going to want something fun for her to look at up there. Just things like that.
So back to you for a second. How did you finally make the switch from market research to I'm claiming it, I'm going to be an interior designer?
So I have a marketing degree. I have a partial design degree because I didn't finish that first school thing. I'm in market research, and one day I just realized I'm not going to really advance any further. It had gotten to the point where I was dealing with, some things other Black women are dealing with, like, oh, we like you right here. You're so good at that. So we don't need to do anything else with you. And I was like, I'm bored. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to risk my life, my American life, and quit. And I went to get a master's degree to finish my design education so that I could have that degree. And while I was getting that degree, I went on Facebook, joined interior design groups, and studied them. Asked a million questions because I know how to do that. I asked designers question after question after question. How did you do this? How did you do this? When did you get started? What do you do when this client does this? And as soon as I got out of school, I started my own company, and I've just been going from there. It's not like I'm not massively rich, but I've always made a profit, and it's growing. It's like I've been in business for about 6 years and just started yesterday. That's what it feels like.
What type of client are you looking for? Or what kind of client would best benefit from your services?
So a lot of my clients are giving of themselves to everyone else. They've kind of spent their life giving to their kids, giving to their parents, giving to their spouse, giving to their friends, building everyone else's life, supporting everyone else. And they're now maybe like 40, 50, 60 and realizing, oh yeah, me. I either haven't done anything for me, or they finally have made their life and have the time and the kids are gone. And they're like, I want me. I want to finally do what I've always wanted to do. To make myself comfortable, to get the life that I want. I have a lot of people who are like creating new families. We're changing how we interact with our children, how we kind of form our family structures, and they want a lifestyle that is different. So soft life is definitely in there. Soft life really involves more interaction with yourself, with your family, gentle parenting, things like that. So people who are kind of changing the way American family looks and the way work-life balance looks. Those are most of my clients. They're changing the dynamic of the past, and they want something new and something different and something more personal. And so we go through, what is it you're trying to do? You know, everybody's starting their own business now, so a lot of people are working from home. How do we make that work so that you're not disturbed, but you're not distracted, but you are comfortable? So things like that. Many of my clients are introverted, don't really enjoy too much social interaction or a lot of distraction. They like very personal spaces. They have sensitivities, sensitive to smell, sensitive to light. I've had clients after I've worked with them tell me, my bathroom doesn't make my eyes hurt anymore. And I didn't realize it was making my eyes hurt until we did this and they stopped hurting. And so just little things like that. I have a lot of clients who are either autistic themselves or their kids are autistic. So we need to figure out a way to make their world comfortable, make their home fit their unique brainwaves so that we can make it comfortable for them. If they like to spin around, then we need to give them space to spin around, things like that. So it's really about people who are trying to really understand who they are versus what we've been fed for, a century, and change how they live. So the consultation is 2 hours. It doesn't have to be 2 hours long, but it's right now the price is $550 for those 2 hours. And that price covers a few things. It means I can be free. I can give you as much advice as you need or we talk about. I don't have to be hesitant. And it also means that you're serious and we can have a very productive, real conversation and walk through the house and learn each other.
Do I have to know what I want at this point, or?
You definitely don't have to know what you want. That's my job. If you were like, I know exactly what I need and what I want, then that actually makes my job harder. And why am I here? So my job is to help you. So what's going on? It's like a therapist. And many people have described a designer as like a therapist. What's going on? What's making you unhappy? What's making you uncomfortable? What's changed in your life? What do you want to do? How do you want to feel? And
how
then
do you want to feel? That's an
that.
interesting question. How do you want to feel?
Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be solemn? Do you want to be focused on work? Like, how do you want to feel in this space so that we can make sure it has the right lighting and things?
You're not asking me necessarily, what color do you like? Or right. You're just saying, how do I want to feel? And
I do ask people what colors they like, but it's so here's the example I give.
Okay.
If you're hungry, close your eyes, and what's the first food that you think of? You're hungry. These are the little things, and it's personal. When I do it, it's personal. It's not just in general, red is like a bad color, but it's personal and social. Like culturally, we have been taught red means food. Red apples, red McDonald's. So if you paint your kitchen red, you might just be making yourself gain 15 pounds. So little things like that, trying to figure out who you are and how you live. If you don't go to McDonald's, you might not even have that association. I have a blog up right now, and the going trend is very monochromatic. Everybody wants everything white, everything gray, everything cream, those daring cream people. And so there's a few things happening here. One, it's easy. It's easy to make a monochromatic. I don't have to think real hard to just go here or go with this. It's all cream, so it's all going to work. But here's the weird psychological danger in this very monochromatic light scheme. So one, we have a lizard brain in the back of our head that is there as a primal being and wants safety all the time. So now you're in a room that's completely white and there's no anchor, which means your lizard brain says there's no cave to hide. There's no rock to go behind. There's no wall to lean against so we can at least see 180 degrees of protection. There's nothing. There's just open space. So what this is going to do is cause your lizard brain to continue to look for the anchor. Your eyes are looking and you're not going to notice this. This is not something you're going to be conscious of. You're not going to feel it, but your anxiety levels are oddly going to be higher than they should. So that means your stress hormones are higher. So that's officially affecting pretty much your entire existence. Stress hormones touch everything. Also, white, cream. These are harder to look at because the light bounces in a certain way. So it's like constantly bouncing into your eyes. Things like blue and green are calming colors because physiologically our eyeballs don't have to stress as much to see it. That's why they're calming colors, because they're literally physiologically easier to see and look at. Things like that. And then also back to our lizard brain, you're an expanse that's white, that's cream. Your brain thinks we're in a snow tundra. Snow tundra means dangerous animals like polar bears and things. Like, I swear to God, this is real. I'm not making this up. So there are weird psychological things going on with our back mammalian brain that we're not conscious of when we make decisions, that if you know about it, all you genuinely need is contrast in your room. You can have a super white house if you want to. We just need something heavy enough, contrast wise, that your lizard brain is happy and can hide from this saber-tooth tiger. That's all. Yeah. And it needs to be either heavy or expansive. And when I say heavy, I sometimes just mean visually heavy.
What is that?
You're like, if it was a very, very large painting, like a 4 to 5 foot painting or 6 foot painting that was like a darker color, like all red or blue or something in your White House to be like that pop of color. It can't be a tiny little vase. That's not enough. The only way people might know they need me is I constantly speak on how are you living? Is there some part of your house that's annoying you? Is there something in your house that's bothering you? Do you bump into that counter every day? Is this always falling over? Do you wish the toilet was taller? Like things like that. If there's parts of your home that are literally niggling at you, bothering you, irritating you every day, you might need some interior design help. If there are changes in your family life and you don't know how to accommodate them, maybe someone's physical abilities have changed, maybe we have new babies coming, maybe my parents are moving in with me, just how do I make life easier? How do I make it comfortable? I do help people build new homes. It's usually not their first home, but I do help people build new homes because they're like, I want this one to be right. I want it to be perfect. So usually people in my world are in a transition. They know what they want, but don't know how to get it because they've never had it. And so my job is to help bridge that, transition into having the lifestyle that you want in your interior environment. And I do have to give disclaimers because design is it's an artistic sort of profession.
And that's what I guess that's what I'm getting at, because how do I know as the customer that you're going to get what I'm striving for? And how much back and forth is involved in this process? There's the
Yes, I have a lot of stages for that. If you go on my website, you will see my entire process from beginning to end. And I make it clear so people know this is what you get, this is what I do. And you know that I'm systematic and I'm organized. So that first stage is the consultation. Mm-hmm. I won't let anybody skip the consultation stage. We need to know if we like each other, if this is going to work. We're going to be working together probably for 6 months or more. Mm-hmm. We need to be small friends. So the consultation is important for me and for you. I want you to know who I am and how I work and what I charge and what I do and how I think. And I want to know what you need and how you think and how you like to work and what you want from this relationship. That way, before anyone hands me thousands of dollars, they have some idea of who I am and how I work. And then we do sign for a project. We've decided exactly what you want to do before we sign the project. Are you getting a new rug and a new counter and a new cabinet? So we know exactly what we're about to do before we sign any sort of contract. That way you're already prepared.
Have we picked it out at this point or not necessarily?
Mm-hmm. Nope. We've just decided these are the things I want to change. Gotcha. And you've already sent me sort of my little survey of, well, here's the colors I like, here's the stores that inspire me, things like that. So we've done that part before exchanging project money. Once we've actually signed the project and we start with the retainer, I create sort of a mood board. It's not, it might have some furniture on it, it might have squirrels on it, whatever the sort of mood of the space. And then we do the first approval, which is that mood. what is the color scheme? What is the structure? What is the feeling that we're going for? And we create a palette that matches that sort of mood and the colors. That way you kind of know what we're about to step into before we get there. And I do have revisions. So you're like, I'm not so sure about the colors for this room. Let's do something else. They revise it, we change it. In that first approval, we do the floor plan. So we're moving this all over here, moving this all over here, so you'll know where it's going to be. And then that second approval is where we're starting to pick out actual items and finishes and things like that. And then we sit down and we look at it. Now, it's important that I don't give you 15 choices because that's just overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called decision fatigue. And interior design has so many choices. Like, not just the cabinets, what kind of cabinet doors, what size are the cabinets, what kind of trim do you want on the door, what kind of knob do you want
knobs on the cabinets. Yes. Yeah. It's
so many, and that's just the cabinets. Now we got to pick the color of the grout in the kitchen. So there's so many decisions. My job is to narrow them as much as humanly possible so that you can still feel like, I love all 2 or 3 of these. It doesn't even matter which one I pick because they're all amazing.
Okay.
And that way you can still feel like you've picked things that you love that fit who you are without the fatigue, without the stress of 100,000 decisions. So that's my job. And then we do revisions for that too. And then once we land on all the things that you love and all the pieces, then we start buying stuff. That's the fun part. And then and then we have contractors come and put it in, install it. As a designer, I'm the project manager, so I'm overseeing all those things. I don't hire contractors. You hire the contractor, but I will hover over them and make sure they're doing it right. Okay. Design actually takes a lot of time. That is the one lie HGTV seems to think it's fun. It's not going to take 2 weeks. It's not happening in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks, okay? Not happening in 2 weeks. So we're going, like I said, we're going to be friends for like 6 months. Especially if you're just doing 1 or 2 rooms, depends on the room. If it's a kitchen, a whole lot of time. If it's a bathroom, a kind of a lot of time. If it's like just a bedroom or something, it doesn't really take as much time. And I can also do e-design. So we might actually literally never physically meet. And you just have to send me a lot of pictures or videos, and I'll send you links so you can buy everything when we're done. And so that usually takes 2 months at most if it's just an e-design for like 1 or 2 rooms. Yeah. Anything more lengthy than that, it's going to take a lot of time because I do have to actually make those 100 million decisions for you. And I need to meet with vendors. I need to sit on things. I need to receive samples before I sit them to you. So it takes time. So all designers are different on how they charge and how they do things. It's almost like a problem because they're all so different. For me, if you don't want me to purchase the items, then we'll just do the e-design and I call it basically half project. It's a design only. I design it, you get pretty 3D renderings, you get floor plans, you get links for all of the furniture choices that we've made. And then from there, have at it, buy it when you're ready, know that it's post-COVID and it'll be gone in 30 days. But so you'll already know how much it's going to cost before, you move forward. If it's a full project, I do buy the items. So I get a merchandise retainer and I purchase all of the items. I send them to a receiver who holds it basically. They hold it until as much of the product is available for us to try to install at one time as I can. I don't send things to clients' homes. I try not to do that because 1, it'll walk away. 2, it'll be broken and you'll open it and you'll be sad. And I don't want that. That's my job. I'm supposed to deal with that. And so I want to make sure everything is, together before we bring it to you. I'm the project manager. I'm supposed to solve the problems so that you don't have to, because that was the whole reason I hired me, to take some of the stress off of your plate. And then I arrange to have it all installed. I arrange for photographs, things like that. So I do actually purchase the items and then have it for you. So that's how that works for me. So I personally put my prices on my website. I don't want people to be surprised. I don't like sticker shock. It makes me uncomfortable. So I want people to know before they call me what I charge and what's about to happen. I send everyone a furniture guide pretty much even before we have our first phone call, just to see what we have is like good, better, best. So these are kind of the prices for furniture that you'll probably end up experiencing if I'm your designer. information is my jam. I want people to know what's going on. So I try very hard not to blindside anyone. If you want to spend less money, e-design is usually the best way to go. It costs less than a full project. You can do one room at a time. There's no rush to finish anything. Sometimes when I do have large projects, I tell them, we don't got to do all this tomorrow. We can break up your project. We can do this floor, then next year we can do the second floor. Because if you lived here, you're going to be designing your home for like 12 years anyway. So it doesn't have to happen right away. So we do break things up. But yes, I have had a consultation with clients and been like, I don't think it's in your best bet to hire me, because the type of furniture you want to use, price-wise, you will spend more money on me and have less money for your furniture and your designs and things. And I wouldn't do that to someone. So I've told them it's probably best that you don't use my services so that you have all the funds that you want to actually furnish the space the way you want it to look. So that's important to me. I am very clear and upfront about finances. I also wanted to speak on that it is important. Design is important. Sometimes people look at design as it costs too much money, but like I say, don't skimp on the bed. People want to buy cheap beds. Girl, you saved your money in there. You cry on there. You laying on there for 8 hours straight, literally breathing these fibers in. You watching your TV from like this bed is affecting your spine, your lungs, everything. Why is this less valuable than a pair of shoes or a coat or a car even? You're going to spend so much more time in your bed than other places.
Yeah.
My marketing job to show people what your home is doing. Your sofa that you sit on every day is literally affecting your spine, your tailbone, that sciatica we all trying to get away from. So spend the money on the things that are physiologically and mentally affecting you versus the things that are cute for a few hours. I also say spend the money on the invisible things. People don't like that.
The invisible things. What
The
do you mean by
invisible
that?
things. So this seems basic, but people avoid it. Everyone wants like 12 by 24 tile or like 36 by 36 tile. Gigantic piece of tile. It's porcelain. It's huge. It's gorgeous. But they don't want to spend the money to level the floor because you can't see that part. The floor looks flat. Well, just put it there.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, in 4 months when there's a crack in your gorgeous tile.
That's right. Yeah.
And here's the biggest problem. You can't just replace, well, you could probably replace a floor tile, but not like a wall tile in the bathroom. It's not easy to replace. The tile dye lot doesn't exist anymore. It's going to be slightly off. You might have to destroy more tile just to get to that one spot. You might have to take out everything. So when you spend the money on the invisible things, it lasts way longer when you prime it first, when you flatten it first, when you reinforce it first, and then it stays longer. That's where you get the quality from, the durability. It's really about the invisible money when you invisible things, because that will actually result in better quality, more longer lasting products. There's a lot of benefit to a designer helping you, even if you know what you like. So number one of the biggest reasons people hire me isn't because they don't know how to design their space, because they don't have time. I just don't have time. Like, I could do it, but I don't have time to do it. You do it. Get someone else to do it. So that's me. So they just have a busy life. They have things going on, or maybe they're sick, or they can't do as much as they wanted to before. And so they just need someone to help. They just need to delegate that work to someone who's available to do it. So that's a big reason people hire interior designers. I have a lot of vendor experience. I get discounts on things. So sometimes I can get things cheaper than retail for you. So that's a lot of benefit.
If people want to reach out to you, or if they want to see your work, I mean, that's on your website, correct? Why don't you give us your contact information for those who might be listening?
My website is designarose.com, designarose. And you can join my email list. I send out a Rosebud newsletter. It's not very consistent. So once a month, twice a month, I try not to bombard people. And we talk about design. We talk about comfort. We talk about introversion. I have a podcast and it is Interior Peace with Kiana Rose. And those are some of the best places to meet me. You can find all those things on my website. My Instagram's there, my Facebook's there, blogs there, podcast is there. Designarose.com. I'm on Instagram a lot. And so that is where a lot of my pictures are. My gallery is there. I'm here. I'm out here loving the world, loving us all, making us comfortable.
That's great. And for so many of us who are dealing with stress and depression and loneliness, it's good to know that we can create an environment that will help us.
Yeah. I developed my philosophy of peace, which stands for privacy, education, acceptance, comfort, and expression. That is my design philosophy. Those are my principles of design. That's how I design every space. And I developed this because these are the things that I wanted. You know, it was a weird little discrimination as an introvert. Like, you don't like us? Yeah, I do. I just need to go over here for a while and play with the dog. So just kind of expressing who we are and getting the world to accept us and our sort of internal vision of the earth. I studied like literally like thesis level introversion, sensitivities, things like this. And I wanted to know, like, where do these people come from? People are literally born introverts, like from infancy. And then people can become an introvert because someone around them is an introvert, or because they're an empath and they're overwhelmed and they want to pull away. So just learning the psychology of humankind is fun for me, is important to me. And that is where I'm coming from. I do enjoy how we think and what makes us tick and how to like appeal to that and make us feel better.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.